Worldwide, nearly 800,000 people die each year by suicide. That's roughly one death every 40 seconds. In 2020, approximately 45,979 people died by suicide in the United States alone. Of those nearly 46,000 suicide deaths in the U.S., 6,146 were veterans, most of them active duty troops. That's an average of 17 veterans a day dying by suicide.
My name is Brandon Bryan, small town farm boy from Iowa. Born in California, but I was actually raised in Iowa. Joined the Navy my junior year in high school. So I was in the delayed entry program for my senior year. And then, yeah, I graduated in May and left off in June. So, and then from there, I mean, it's been a long career with a lot of successes, but also a lot of challenges as well.
I got this. My name is Greg Gadsden. I'm a retired United States Army colonel. I was fortunate to serve for about 26 years in the Army. Grew up in Virginia. Chesapeake, Virginia is where I call home. Was actually born in Oklahoma and lived a few other places, but called Tidewater, Virginia home. Grew up as kind of identified as a jock, particularly one as a football player, and had dreams and aspirations of someday being a professional football player. Thought I was going to earn a scholarship and, you know, blaze my trail. Didn't quite happen that way. Didn't have the scholarship opportunities that I imagined or hoped for. But I did have an opportunity to go to West Point and play football there. And so that was the path I took. Played all 4 years there and had a chance to be on a couple of special teams.
Oh, what a terrific play by Greg Gadsden.
Got commissioned in 1989 as a field artillery officer. Didn't think I was going to make the military a career, but ended up making a military career, and got a chance to go through a few deployments, you know, serving in the first Gulf War, the Balkans, Afghanistan, and Iraq. And as you see, the configuration you might see me in now was a result of some wounds that I sustained in Baghdad in 2007 during the surge. But I like to say that I was fortunate and truly blessed to survive that, and not only survive it, but you know, I suppose thrive and able to continue my service in the military for almost another 8 years before I did finally retire in 2014. So. My father encouraged me to go Navy or Air Force because the Marine Corps had discipline, and he felt that he instilled enough of that in me that I would be successful either in the Air Force or the Navy. And I reached out to both, and the Navy recruiter got back to me first. And he was a pretty good salesman. But I ended up going to Guantanamo Bay and being a part of the first
battalion of Navy personnel that took over detainee operations in Guantanamo Bay from the Army. I spent like 7 months in Camp 2-3, which is like where all the bad ones go. So I guess glutton for punishment. But it also, that experience where I saw an enemy directly in front of me, and the pure evil that you see motivated me to want to do something more than what I was currently doing. That deployment, I got ready to go to selection training here in Coronado, California, when I put my special boat operator package together. I got selected in 2006, graduated late 2006, and I reported to Special Boat Team 22 at Stennis, Mississippi, January of 2007, for the week of heart, for sure.
I mean, I think about it, yeah. Did I seriously think about it? No, like I never got like a knife or a weapon or anything. But I also know the feeling of wanting to just die. Like, why did I survive this? Why, I just wanted the pain to go away. I wanted to die, but I didn't want to kill myself. So,
we were putting boats in the water. It was in Iraq. The troop ahead of us had been using this boat ramp for quite a while. The enemy obviously knows that. So it was like one of our very first ops. We splashed 4 boats. We get the assault package. They meet us down there. We get everyone loaded up. And we have to maneuver around this island. And the current of that river is like 12 knots. So like being able to splash a boat and maneuver a boat that's fully weighted down with, 12 to 15 assaulters, and all their stuff, dogs, ladders, you name it. You have to pull levers and put the boat in neutral, rev the engines to try to blow out anything that's in the jets. So it's very a hectic situation. And then you look up and you see an RPG fly in front of your face.
I reimagined a little kid, an infant learning to walk, and how the kid would walk, the infant would walk, the toddler would walk, and would fall down and would get back up. And what I reminded myself was that they weren't afraid. They weren't afraid to fall. They weren't afraid to fail. And that's what I needed to do. I couldn't be afraid to fail. And so when Peter asked me to be in the movie, I was like, sure, why not?
Come on!
Okay, get him out there.
My character is a Special Forces Army officer that was wounded in Afghanistan, and I was a battalion commander in Iraq, and lost my legs to an IED also above the knee.
And about 3 or 4 months after I got wounded, it was sort of that, I say that moment where I had this conscious decision that I just didn't need to worry about tomorrow. Like, I couldn't see a tomorrow. When, these injuries are devastating, and I'm not sure that anybody that has anything like this or catastrophic happen in your life, you don't know what tomorrow looks like all of a sudden, and that uncertainty that we all seem to walk around with was gone. And all I could do was just focus on the moment. I just realized that was the only place that I could apply my physical, emotional, intellectual energy was just getting through a day. And when I committed to that, I said, I'm just going to, whatever comes up, I'm just going to accept. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm just going to tackle it.
So my opening scene in the movie can't be any more authentic. All of the people here are real warriors, and so I hope it shows them that life goes on and that you can't quit.
My dad said to me, even when I was still in the hospital, he says, God didn't bring you through this without a purpose. He says, he asked me, he says, how many people were you leading before you got hurt? And I said, 400 plus soldiers I had in my unit. I mean, I'm still in a hospital bed, and he goes, look at how many people you're going to touch now. And it's true. But that's not why you do it. You just, I guess it just happens. And I'm certainly grateful that that they raised me this way. So.
I don't know if I'm ready to do this, but I know that I need to. Because it's the right thing to do, and because of the situation our world is in right now, and so many people hurting because of mental illness, and seeing all of his fellow brothers at his service grown and with families of their own and children, and knowing that there is something that I could possibly say to help someone, and not wanting them to deal with the same hurt and pain that our family has dealt with. It's not an easy pill to swallow when you lose someone to something that could have been helped, but it wasn't, because people don't know how to help situations like this. You don't know what to say to people. And I think that's the hardest part, is not knowing what to say to someone that is contemplating taking their life. Or how do you help someone that's dealing with that? What do you say to them?
It wasn't until I had an alcohol-induced flashback into a loaded weapon on me, where I barricaded myself in the house, and I thought I was surrounded. There's a liquor bottle. I don't know if it was smashed on the floor. I know I was bleeding at some point, and I don't know where from. But if you can imagine just a regular kitchen with white tile and a broken vodka bottle and blood, that was the scene. And then, doors are barricaded, blinds are shut. Luckily, she was able to, she called the cops at first. They didn't want to enter the house. So she was able to call some of the guys at work. And luckily those guys came. Because I was gonna shoot myself in the chest. Because I knew my brain was jacked up. But luckily, the guy showed up. Great guy, Gary Luna. He saved my life. He was able to talk me out of this fog that I was in, where I thought I was back in Iraq, but he was able to break through. And he let all the other guys in, and they just sat around me and listened. I don't remember, probably talking gibberish, but they sat around me. But I was in a bad spot. That was my rock bottom. And so just to do a quick happy note, I've been sober ever since. So May 6th of 2018 was my last drink of alcohol, and I'm proud to maintain my sobriety today. And doing this, a project like this, is just encouraging for me to keep going. So.
Where do you go after someone dies? And I think we're lost once we feel like we've lost our worth. And we have lost purpose in life. And it's okay to feel those ways. It's okay to feel those things. And how you're feeling right now is okay. Just know that when you need to talk or scream or cry or whatever it is, having that person there for you is what you need and what will help you in the future. That's the one thing that I wish Troy would have really realized, that he had so many people around him that loved him and that would do absolutely anything for him. But realizing that when you're broken is probably the hardest thing that you can realize, because you don't feel worth saving or worth listening to, because someone may have said something to you that made you feel like, yeah, I'm not gonna open up to you again, or not being acknowledged when you are feeling down. And I think that's the biggest thing is acknowledging when people hurt and allowing them to express their feelings and their thoughts, and not diminishing anything that they're going through, because that's only just going to make things worse. And that's what I always tried to do for Troy, but sometimes it's just not enough.
When I think about the communities and we think about the special operators, right? I was thinking about my husband. He idolizes them. They're the strongest, the bravest. They're on the front line. And the fact that you see them suffering and not able to articulate their suffering and resulting in loss of life to suicide, it makes me start to realize, if we can bring awareness to that, awareness that the strongest man in the world might also need to ask for help, that I think then, the normal guy, my husband, my dad, my teacher, might feel more comfortable with that, saying, you know what, it's okay, it doesn't make me lesser of a person, it doesn't mean I'm weak, it means you're human. I'm Laura Josh. I'm the area president for Gallagher, who's the administrator for California Schools VEBA, and we help VEBA and its members improve their health and well-being and make sure they have access to high-quality healthcare resources. To me, there's sort of two levels we can hit in on. How do we take these incredible contributions and help them see their future, right, and help them see how they fit in the community, and then also support them around, that's a big mental adjustment.
So this is typically we do our dive training because it's a flat sloping sandy bottom. If you want to know what an area is going to look like that you're going to dive, look at the topography in the area around you. If you see this, that's going to continue into the ocean. If you're over here at the cove where there's rocks, those rocks continue down into the ocean. Where there's more rock and structure, there's going to be more life. So that's where you're going to find all of the, if you want to go see sharks and things like that, head over to the Marine Room. They're hanging out over there.
I am Kim Larson. I'm with Ocean Enterprises Foundation here in San Diego, and we work with injured veterans as a form of therapy using scuba diving for healing some of the mental issues or anxiety that we go through every single day.
Okay guys, get your gear all squared away. Go ahead and put your mask and fins over by the edge of the pool so they're handy when we jump in, and then square away the rest of the gear so it's nice and neat. Separate the regulators, the BCDs, and the wetsuits.
I find that a lot of times personally, I tend to pull myself out of situations when things start going bad. I tend to isolate, and it's easier just to stay home and not deal with something. In diving, you're forced to be with somebody. So if you can get yourself in that one person environment, you tend to find yourself enjoying the dive you're on, the path you're on. Everything in the ocean changes daily. So it's never the same view. You go in there, it's almost like you've gone into a new aquarium. There's new fish, there's new environments. Every storm that comes in tends to change the environment that we're in. And I feel like that is very similar to, life. Our environment changes, our attitudes change, our stresses change, and the ocean tends to wash that away. Waves are created, and I have the opportunity to choose which ones I want to surf.
When we think about changing and transforming healthcare, VEBA can't do that alone. We are large, but you're talking an ecosphere that's, even just in California, we have 40 million Californians, right? So when we start talking about trying to change mental health, whether it's access, pipeline, staffing, stigma, that's gonna take a village to really help expand that across the ecosystems. And so being able to start to expand and talk about the stigma, it's okay to ask for help, that doesn't mean you're weak, I think transcends more than even just the special operator community. I think they're a great example of, the strongest man, right? But I think that applies to every teacher, every classroom aide, every lunchroom worker, every, me, right? And how do we all say it's okay to ask for help? It's okay to say you're not okay, right? Because we do so much silent suffering, and it's become something where we're very comfortable, being like, yeah, my diabetes, I'm taking this, I'm on my metformin and I'm doing this, but it's much scarier to be like, well, my depression, I felt like I couldn't get out of bed today. I don't know what I can do, that we're ashamed to talk about the same medical diagnosis, the same suffering. And it's how do we as a whole community get more comfortable with those discussions so that we can get people help that they need. We can expand those resources, because when we talk about suicide, when we talk about loss of life, it doesn't have to happen.
Learning to take time for myself has been the biggest struggle for me, but the biggest help for me. Learning that I'm not alone in this situation, and there are people that have dealt with similar situations is helped because you can relate to someone that's dealt with it. So having someone in my ear telling me their story has been huge.
And if you can find a way to take them out of that moment, if you just stand there with them in the dark until they're ready to go into the light, then you're good. You know, everybody just needs that. I'll stand in the darkness with you until we're good. And I think that's important. And diving is something that offers that. If you can just trust me enough to get out there, come back. We've had a diver that I worked with just recently, and she said being underwater provided her something that she was unable to accomplish in 10 years of therapy. So, you know, let's try something new. Let's put trust in something. Let's go out there with somebody who's been there, that is trustworthy and is going to guide you through that process.
The ones that I'm able to communicate with is really simple. Be present. Truly be present. That means that you've let go of yesterday. You're not encumbered. You're not encumbered by something that you're holding on. What invisible anchor are you holding on to that prevents you from being present? And stop living a day that you're not promised. That doesn't mean you don't think about the future. Look, you can have a meeting, you can have a discussion about the future, but be where you are. And then strive to be your best. Not be the best. I mean, some people can be the best in a room with a 50% effort. Be your best self. Compete against yourself. And I think if you can be present and you can be your best, then to me that equals peace. Because you've left it all on the table. You don't have to wonder what if. You don't have to go, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. Look, we don't have all the answers. But I was present and I did my best. You're going to lose sometimes. You're going to be on the wrong side of something. But if you're blessed and lucky enough to get a chance to go after it again, then go after it.